Sorry, I had my mic muted. Hello, hello, and more hello to all you wisdom walkers out there. This is Jojopah Maria and Saroma coming to you with the Wisdom Walk Talk for September 2025. Did you just hear that Brooklyn accent? The Wisdom Walk Talk. You know why? Because I am a little tired. I only go into my New York accent when I'm tired. Oh, how is everybody today? We're going to be talking about the void. I don't have a script, but always, whenever I broadcast live stream, I am going to start off with honoring the ancestors. So let me do that. And I've already got some comments coming in, which is wonderful. We'll have a little say today. Absolutely. So join me, if you will, with remembering your ancestors. I always honor Melidoma and Sobonfu Somé, my wonderful teachers who are now both ancestors, having come from Burkina Faso, the land of the proud ancestors. And I invite you to call out the name of those ancestors in your family, blood or non-blood related, people who have inspired you, who continue to be guardian and guide for you as I share this prayer of invocation. Creator, Mother, Father, God, Source, all the one, all that is, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for your blessing, your mercy in our lives, and for yet another opportunity to call on to your great emissaries, the ancestors. And ancestors, we call out to you during this time of walking the void, during this time of not knowing which direction we really are to be going through during this time where lies and untruths are held as the truth. Give us the strength and the courage, the wisdom to know that you and you alone hold the key to what is true in the cosmos, and that we as humans are here to really learn, even if it takes some harsh consequences, what those truths really are. So thank you, God, for this opportunity for us to come together and open our hearts, our minds, and our spirits to your greater will. And ancestors, we cannot do this alone. We need your help, your guidance, your wisdom, your love. Help us to remember the truth of who we are. Help us to reclaim the truth of who we are as we venture forth in these dark times of modernity, knowing that there really is light at the end of the tunnel. Help us to keep our vibration and our resonance very high. Help us to choose love and compassion, generosity, kindness, sweetness, understanding, humility, and most of all, enable us to choose love over fear. And we thank you. We thank you for this guidance, for the support, for this wisdom in the name of all that is holy. And I say, Amen. Ashe aho asa ashinga bismillah. So it is. Ashe. So let's see who's here right now. Ah, Queen Amina. Yes, she says, peace, light, love, and light. Here to walk the void and reclaim my true self. Amen. Ashe to that. Yes, so important. And there's Hector. Hey, Hector. Giving some love, giving some high vibration. Yeah, it's really needed. So I do have a quote that I want to share with you. Um, And first, just to remind you that we are moving through our 5 annual collective commitments to grow more into the truth of who we are, to discover more deeply how unconditional love is the reward for us doing our self mastery work, and that we are here to transform, unlearn, transcend, reclaim, and to validate, receiving it and sharing it. And tonight, of course, I'm going to be focusing on our fourth collective commitment, which is reclaim. And it's about choosing to reclaim the truth of who you are. You are liberated from codependency and the need for control dramas. We can grow into our self knowledge and be self referred. Yeah, really, really, really important that we can do that. Yeah. So now let me share the quote with you that I found about the void. It's from Ole Anderson, who is a transformational coach for realness out of the UK. And Ollie says the void is a kind of inner call. It feels like emptiness, but really it's a kind of homing beacon, calling you back to yourself and the things that already fill you. How you respond to this beacon basically affects the course of your whole existence and whether or not you'll stand any chance of living your own life or a pale imitation of it because you've been following somebody else's commands. Ashe. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. And I think it lends itself to what I want to bring up and spill on with you about the void. And I love that, you know, his perspective and his vocabulary is that it's an inner call. It's an inner call. But as we know, it doesn't feel like that at first because, you know, the void times come, the void period comes, like the one we are currently in. But it comes when, you know, things really get disrupted in your life, and that can occur by loss, the loss of a loved one, the death of a loved one, the death of even an animal, the loss of a home, the loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, of course. Um, you know, anything that is deeply disruptive will throw us into a void situation. And before it feels like a call or we get to that, it just feels really bad. And it's very scary because a void is right. It's this empty space. And you're just walking around like, I don't know where I am. I don't know why I am. I don't know how I am. I don't feel okay. And I don't know how to feel okay. I can't see any future. I can barely see anything behind me. I just out of sorts. I don't know. And as most of you know, today we have an eclipse going on. This is eclipse season. And you know, I can tell you, I'm kind of feeling the void a lot over this last week. The energy of the void is definitely with this eclipse. It's a solar eclipse, and you know, it's a partial one. It has completed now. And interesting here where I am, when the eclipse time period comes to a close, the sun has finally come out. Yeah, otherwise it's been overcast all day. So I saw that as that's a good thing. But it's just been, you know, just really hard. A lot of feeling a lot of pain. You feel a lot of pain during a void period or when you're walking a void. And just like what's going on in the world right now, you know, so many people are suffering because of war, because of ignorance, because of corruption, because of the earth changes, you know, natural disasters, the weather change, all of that is bringing suffering. And so we really are going through a time period where it's really hard to know how am I going to feel okay again? What is okay going to be? Um, and yeah, and it don't feel good. It's as simple as that. It just don't feel good. But but there is definitely a purpose in this. And you know, it has to do with us being taken to a next level of what it is that we're really here for and what it is we want to do. Hector says, fill the void with self love. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, as I talk about, this reclaiming of our true self, the first question I thought would come to us is, well, what is my true self, Jojopah? What is that? Because I thought I knew until this void came. I don't know nothing now, right? And it is getting to where we can love ourselves, right? And I tell you, in my experience, in my life, the the true self, that authentic self that we all have access to, um, it feels really good. It's not stressful. It's not a burden. It's not the roles that we have to play in life or the ones we choose to play where, we're afraid we're gonna step wrong, or like we're on a tightrope and I'm gonna take a false step and I'm gonna fall. Just that term that has come about called imposter syndrome. To me, that is come about because we do so much more role playing than ever before on this planet instead of just being who we really are. Um, and so that's the first thing about it is that it feels good to be your true self. Um, it feels like, rolling off a log, rolling down the hill, moving, flowing through, row, row, row your boat gently down a stream. You're in a flow when you're your real self and your true self because you're not worried about what people think or don't think. You're not trying to be codependent. You're not trying to make somebody or something outside of yourself tell you who and what you are. You're able to be self-mastered enough that you know what you are. You've gotten still enough and you've opened up to really listening and to really learning like who and what you are. Hector says discovering joy is more fun than finding fear. Absolutely. Absolutely. And to get to that, to get to where you decide, you know what, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna be who I am. I'm gonna be in the joy. I'm gonna choose joy. I'm gonna let go of being afraid. You really do have to go through the void period. It's an initiatory journey. It's moving you from one understanding about who you are and into another. And it's always evolving. It's always growing. Yeah. Um, I can tell you about my void. One of my many void experiences, but probably one of the most powerful ones was when my mother died. Um, and after my mom died, I really, really had gotten to a crossroads. I knew that the work I was doing in the world was good and important, but I knew there was something more that I could be doing. And by this time, I had waken up to the fact that I was a spiritually intelligent human being and that I did have access to some higher dimensions, that I was working on a deeper relationship with my God. So I that was going for me. But what happens is when I am thrust into this void period after the death of my mom, um, I realized that I need to really give myself permission to find out more about who I really am and how this spiritual intelligence fits into my life. What is it I'm supposed to do now? How is it I'm supposed to serve now? And that marked the beginning of me going on a 6.5 year sojourn, being an itinerant shamanic healer, to really learn that, to really learn the truth of who I was. And that void time for me, at times it was very scary because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know sometimes where I was going to sleep. I didn't know where I was going to eat. I didn't know if my car was gonna keep running or if it broke down, how was I gonna pay for it? I never knew where money was coming from, but I always had some money coming in, from using my gifts, my talents, or again, just manna from heaven. People would support me, reached out and supported me. Um, but it was really, quite a journey, and there were times when I really wanted to go back to who I thought I was because I knew that. I felt safe in that, but it wasn't bringing me joy. Like Hector said, it's discovering joy is more fun than finding fear. It's like where I was, it was growing fear, growing stress and worry, holding on to something that I really was done with, but I didn't know how to let go. But the void period came, and it was really, I can look back now and tell you, it really was a calling because everything I went through during that time grew me into who you're listening to and watching today. So, for those of you out there right now going through the void, I encourage you to walk it, meaning stay on it, stay with it. Don't run from it. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't be in this. You shouldn't be going through this. Um, let yourself have it. And especially if it was something that, really has you not knowing what you're going to do next. Really stay with that because it's really a calling for you to get closer to your God, to really strip yourself away from how you thought you had to figure it all out. You thought that you had to be the one who was going to decide where you were going to, how you were going to land, or where you were going to eat, or how you were going to sleep. Um, I often talk about too my beautiful time in Santa Monica, where I was able to live for 5 years. Like, if I had sat down and said, "Okay, I want to be in Santa Monica, and this I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna figure it out," it would never have happened. Um, it it wasn't even me asking for Santa Monica from God, from spirit. It was me saying, "I wanna be healthy." Yeah. I wanna be healthy. I knew I needed to be in the sun to get there, but that's really what my request was for. And to land in Santa Monica, that wasn't something I could have figured out at all. And so, out of my void and during my void, it was about me really taking time to say, "Okay, what do I need now? What's gonna help me in my life now? Where is it that I'm out of balance?" Because when you're in the void, you really get the opportunity to ask those kinds of questions, those deep questions like, "What's going on for me? What's really going on for me? Why don't I feel okay? What's really happening here?" You get to really go into a very deep contemplation and start breaking open what's happening for you. And I don't know why it takes the void time, and the situations leading up to the void to get us to go that deep on ourselves, but I know that it does. And so again, for those of you right now walking the void, please, please know that this is your time to really ask the hard questions and be honest with yourself. That's another way you know that you're being your true self is that you're able to be honest with yourself. You're able to say, "You know what? This really doesn't work for me." Or, "You know what? That really does work for me. I want more of that. Let me open up to learning how to do it." Yeah, the void time is also or how we can navigate it from a place of love versus fear, from a place of, "Oh, I'm being called," rather than "I'm being punished," is to really open yourself up to learning. Become a master learner. You're going to take risks. You're going to connect with people and places and things that you normally wouldn't. Um, like me with Santa Monica. Another place that I went to grow, to heal, to learn was North Carolina, on the side of a mountain, with my shamanic friend Andrea, and it was an incredible time of growing, of healing, of stretching, of learning. And again, nothing I would have ever made up. Oh yeah, I'll just go live on the side of a mountain and yeah, yeah. I would never have thought that. I'm a little city girl, a little metropolitan girl, I was not thinking about being out in the woods. But it was exactly what I needed at the time. So again, it's opening up to learning, opening up to things that you normally wouldn't be knowing about or connecting with. Um, you take that risk. Okay, Hector, you got to translate WNC for me. Unless it's saying Western North Carolina, because that's true. Um, but yeah, it's that kind of a process. I think that, we do want to, we can be in a situation where we are just in such judgment about ourselves, just like beating up on ourselves because we're in the void. Yeah, Hector says that's enough. Yeah, because that's where I met you, I think, Hector, in Western North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's where I met you. That's the other thing too. I travel around so much and I've done so many rituals and things. What a blessing. And I can forget where I have met people at before. But yeah, my void journey it's been really big. But again, when are just beating yourself up about it. I did that in the very beginning when after my mom died and I was hanging out on the side of a mountain and in the woods, and I'm like, "You're this human service administrator. You should be behind a desk. You should be, on your phone and on your computer. What are you doing here wasting your life?" It felt like that. And then there was an ego thing too. Like, I used to be somebody. Now what am I? A lot of that got pushed up, which was good. But don't stay in that because, being a human services administrator was something I did. It wasn't who I was. It was something that, I chose to do to give back to the community, but it didn't define all of who I was. Um, it was a role that I played. And in that role, there was some room for me to be who I was, but, I really didn't do a lot of my shamanic work before I went into the void. After I came through my void period, then I was ready to integrate my shamanic healing gifts and arts into human services. Then I wasn't afraid to do it. So that's the other thing too about the void period that we go into. it's going to grow you and give you the courage that you need to be more of who you really are. Yeah. It's gonna help you reclaim showing up more fully in terms of whatever it is that you were doing or how you've been doing it. It'll give you the courage to be more in your truth. Yeah. And that's a really beautiful thing. That's an important thing. Something else too I wanted to share about the void period. Um, it really helps us to discern between what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. And I think that's because, we're in this place of not knowing, so we can't do what we've always done because either we don't have the props, we don't have the environment, we don't have the same people around us. Um, so we really do have to start to think about is that really a good thing? Is that really a right thing for me? Is it really a truth? And we live in a time where people have forgotten about the seven deadly sins or the beatitudes that were ascribed to Jesus from his Sermon on the Mount, which are just beautiful words about, being, in the truth of who we are as human beings, like love thyself, love thy neighbor, take care of each other, also even the four agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz, which is indigenous wisdom from Mexico. It's almost like, we're forgetting that these kinds of guidance and guidelines have a purpose and that they're part of the cosmic law. Cosmic law isn't human law. It's not anything that we make up. It's the way it really is. Yeah. And so when you forget that, you'll spend a lot of time doing things or being things that really aren't in alignment with what is going to support you in loving yourself unconditionally. Um, so again, in the void period, it's a time where you get to really look at yourself and really say, okay, I was going along with that program or situation, but I realized that that really wasn't in alignment with, my moral intelligence, my knowing what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. Hector says, ask for a sign and understand the signs. Yes. Yes. I tell you, when I've gone through my void periods, right up before I actually step in, I've been getting signs. I think the universe does want to support us always. So I've been getting signs like, okay, something's getting ready to fall apart. Um, you're going to be leaving, you're going to be moving, or this job is coming to an end, or this relationship, nah, it's not totally fulfilling what it is that you really need. So I would get some signs and always want to understand them. Some of them I didn't understand as I look back now, but many of them I did. I didn't want to hear it, I didn't want to accept it, but yeah, we get the signs, absolutely. And also, I tell you, when it's time to come out of the void, you will be getting signs. You'll be getting hints that the journey is going to be coming to an end. Yeah. Um, sometimes you'll even know more about why you had to be on that void walk, why you had to go through that. Things will make sense. It'll fall into place so that you realize that there was a greater purpose. Yeah. Um, and I've had that happen too. Like because I was in my void period when my sister needed my help when she had a major health challenge, I was freed up to be able to be at her side and support her in her recovery. Um, also the the void coming to an end is that you do start to get tired. I remember um, at one point on my 6.5 year sojourn, I really was getting tired. I really was ready for a little more stability in where and how I was living, but I couldn't figure it out, and I knew I couldn't go back to working in the way that I had, being a human services administrator and not showing up as an organizational shaman. I knew I had to do that, but I just didn't know, like, how could that possibly happen? Um, but what I did know is that, you know, clearly things were coming to an end, and when it's time, it's just time, and it was very simply a friend saying, "Oh, our other friend's daughter has an apartment that's empty and it's for you." And I was like, "Okay." So it wasn't like I even went looking for a place to live. It was brought to me. And also in that situation, um, I had money that was owed to me for some healing work that I had done with a community. And I was being paid over a 6-month period. So I know I had 6 months to be in that apartment and be able to pay the rent, but after that, I didn't know what I was gonna do. And, on top of that, I had a knee injury, had to have a little surgery, and so I got laid up. So even if I wanted to try to be out finding a job, I couldn't. So I go into a panic, end up with some shingles, which, oh my god, threw me down into a illness void, and during that painful 3 days, I was able to make up my mind to let go of trying to figure it out. And sure enough, within a week, um, the money opportunity begins to show up so that I could be there and I could pay my rent and, you know, do what it is that I was really there to do. Yeah. But again, all of that was coming out of me letting go of trying to know, of trying to be in charge, of trying to figure it out. It really was about accepting that God had placed me into this void period and that my job was to open up to learning, look for the signs, keep growing, asking the hard questions about myself, discerning between what was working for me in life and what wasn't, definitely setting intentions for how I wanted my life to be. But it is really about letting ourselves be present to the fact that I'm going through this void period and I don't know. Um, on this collective scale of what's going on, especially here in the United States, we are really in this void um, in a way we haven't been for a very, very long time or a long enough time. Because the United States has had void periods before, but this one really is, quite discombobulating, quite confusing, quite scary. Um, but in it, again, the same cosmic laws apply. Our job is to open up to learning, to growing, to healing, and to know that we are going to get through this and that we will be the better for it. All of my void journeys, every time the rug has been pulled out from under me, or I've lost a loved one, lost a job, I lost a living situation, I've always gone on to something more and to something better. So I really think that's what's in store for us, even though if it doesn't seem that way right now. Hey, Daphne. Daphne says, we are going to get through this. Absolutely. I really, really believe that. Yes. And we all need to believe that. And we all need to anticipate that we are going to be stronger, kinder, gentler, more able to practice avoiding the seven deadly sins, more able to believe in the four agreements and practice those. Um, you know, yeah, it's just amazing. And my dear friend in Santa Monica, her name is Christine. She just texts me. She says, sometimes the circle brings us right back home to where we have always been, to find I am experiencing a deeper trust in myself. Absolutely. I love it. Like we go on that journey from home and we return back to home or to a home. And as Christine says, able to ourselves more deeply, love on ourselves more deeply. Absolutely. Daphne says something and better. Sounds promising. Yes. And it is the truth. It really is the truth. And I am so grateful to have this community of wisdom walkers to connect with, to work with, to learn from, to learn with, because we're all in this together. So we're moving through our void time, and I'm just so grateful. I can't say it enough. Hector says, own ourselves. Yes, yes, so important. I call it our personal sovereignty. We don't need to give our power over to a false god, to a golden calf. If you know the story of the Ten Commandments, uh, while Moses is up talking to God, the folks get anxious. They've been waiting so long, so they decide, well, we'll just make a god up because he ain't coming back. They lose their faith, and then many of them lose their lives because if you won't live by the law, you're going to die by the law. Great scene by Cecil B. DeMille. And yeah, so it is about us deepening our faith in our greater order and direction, really understanding that we are here for purpose. God doesn't make mistakes, that we matter. And even if there are those that think we don't matter, that's their problem. We have to know that we really matter, that we own ourselves, and that we can make this world a better place, that we can live the experience of the new earth, knowing we're not just bound to a 3D reality, but that we have access to these higher dimensions. Yeah. And, I really feel there are more people on the planet now who get this, get what I just said, believe in it, are acting off of that higher consciousness. And that also gives me a lot of hope. This is not 1925. This is 2025. This is 100 years later, and humans have evolved. So buckle up because I think, there's going to be some more things that are challenging for us. But I also believe that we're seeing cracks in the rubble. Things are going to keep breaking up, and there's going to be more breakthroughs. I really, really believe that. Queen Amina says, so grateful for the space you create for community care and consciousness raising. Thank you, Queen Amina. It's my great, great pleasure. Yeah. And, I'm walking my talk today because I said I'm just going to show up unscripted. I'm going to be in the void and I'm just going to walk and trust that whatever I need to say and share comes out. And I'm thanking all of you who have been participating and giving comments. And, I've talked this before, but it's going to happen. It's all about right timing. But I definitely am going to offer where, we can come together in a workshop on a Zoom and do some good work and do some ritual work even too. It definitely, I know it's definitely going to happen. So that's what I have for you today, my darlings. I'm so grateful again for you for tuning in, for listening in. Um, Next month in October, I will be discussing validate again, about validating our unique self, um, sharing and receiving that unconditional love. You can believe that you are valuable enough and worthy of receiving the right support. So that's going to be real fun. I love it, love it, love it, love doing that. This is an eclipse day, as I said. So, again, let's take care of ourselves, keep drinking lots of water. I've been doing that all day. And knowing that this energy that has moved through us is giving us now an opportunity to fill in what has been eclipsed with what is really right for us, what is aligned for us. Yeah. Of course, I have my monthly quote from Miss Sarah for you. Miss Sarah was in I lived with in Santa Monica for the last 3 years of her life. Oh, beautiful, beautiful time, and Miss Sarah said, "Don't look for someone in whom to believe. Believe in yourself. The only authentic authority is our own original nature." Yes, yes, Miss Sarah. Thank you, thank you. Just a sweetie. So, big thank you to all of you again. So grateful for you being here, showing up, doing your great work on yourselves, and know that it really does impact everyone around you, people you know, family, friends, even strangers. Yes. So keep up the great work and keep calling on those ancestors. And I will be back in 2 weeks with the elemental wisdom, unless the astrology is such that I do need to give it to you that week. I haven't checked it yet, but I think that worked out for us pretty well for the way that it came out. So I'm grateful for that. Um, Nod to my book, Wisdom Walk to Self Mastery. Nod to Juanita and Amy's book, The Inner Ground Railroad. A nod to Queen Adara, who does this wonderful healing service on Wednesdays. You go to her website, healing spirit, wait, spiritismylife.com, and you can get the information you need to join into that. And as always, as always, I want you to know, my dear, dear darlings, you are not disposable. Why? Because you truly are divine. Good night now.